قالوا ما أخلفنا موعدك بملكنا ولكننا حملنا أوزارا من زينة القوم فقذفناها فكذلك ألقى السامري.
They answered, "We did not break our promise with you out of our own volition, but we were laden with the load of people's ornaments, and we simply threw them down into the fire. And the Samiri also threw down something."
67. This excuse was put forward by those people who were involved in the shirk fabricated by the Samiri. They meant to say, "We did not throw down the ornaments with the intention of setting up a calf, nor did we know what was going to be made of these, but when the calf was brought before us, we involuntarily got involved in shirk." The Arabic text which we have translated into, "We were laden with burdens of ornaments of the people," simply means this: the heavy ornaments which our men and women were wearing like the Egyptians proved very burdensome to us in our wanderings in the desert, and we did not know how to get rid of them, for it appeared very difficult for us to travel in the desert with them. But according to the Bible, these ornaments had been borrowed by every family of the Israelites from their Egyptian neighbors with this intention, "And ye shall put them upon your sons, and upon your daughters, and ye shall spoil the Egyptians. And let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver, and jewels of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required. And they spoiled the Egyptians. And that, too, on the advice of Prophet Moses, whom God himself had instructed to do this noble deed." Exodus 3:14-22, 11:2-3, and I2, 35-36. It is a pity that some of our commentators have interpreted this verse in the light of the above traditions of the Bible. They say that the Israelites felt burdened with the weight of those ornaments which they had borrowed from their Egyptian neighbors, with the intention of carrying them away as a spoil bestowed by God. We are of the opinion that the clause of the verse under discussion means this: when the people were tired of carrying their ornaments on their bodies, they decided by mutual consultation that all the ornaments should be gathered at one place, and it should be noted down how much gold and silver belonged to each of the owners. Then it should be melted into bars and rods and placed on the backs of the beasts of burden. Accordingly, they might have brought their ornaments and thrown them in the common heap. 68. It is obvious from the context that the answer of the people ended with, "through them," and Allah himself has added the remaining story up to the end of the paragraph. It appears from this that the people, including the Samiri, went on bringing their ornaments and throwing them down into the heap while they were absolutely unaware of what was going to be done by the Samiri. After this, the Samiri offered his services to melt it. Then he shaped it into a calf which lowed like a cow. Thus the Samiri deluded the people, saying, "This God of yours has come into being by itself, for I had simply thrown the gold in the fire."
فأخرج لهم عجلا جسدا له خوار فقالوا هذا إلهكم وإله موسى فنسي.
And brought out of there from the molten gold the effigy of a calf that lowed. The people cried out, "This is your deity and the deity of Moses, whom Moses has forgotten, peace be upon him."
أفلا يرون ألا يرجع إليهم قولا ولا يملك لهم ضرا ولا نفعا.
Did they not see that it did not return a word to them, and had no power either to hurt them or to cause them any benefit?
وَلَقَدْ قَالَ لَهُمْ هَارُونُ مِنْ قَبْلُ يَا قَوْمِ إِنَّمَا فُتِنْتُمْ بِهِ وَإِنَّ رَبَّكُمُ الرَّحْمَنُ فَاتَّبِعُونِي وَأَطِيعُوا أَمْرِي.
Certainly, Aaron, peace be upon him, had said to them, even before the return of Moses, "My people, you were fallen into error because of the calf. Surely your Lord is most compassionate, so follow me and obey my command."
قالوا لن نبرح عليه عاكفين حتى يرجع إلينا موسى.
But as they answered, by no means shall we cease to worship until Moses, peace be upon him, returns to us.
69. Here the Quran exonerates Prophet Aaron, peace be upon him, from the sin of taking any part in the calf worship, but in contrast to this, the Bible makes him wholly responsible for making the golden calf and setting it up as a god. According to Exodus, and when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at his hand, and fashioned it with a graying tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation, and said, Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. 1:32:15. It is just possible that the real name of the Samiri was also Aaron, which later on might have misled the Israelites to attribute the making of the golden calf to Prophet Aaron. Thus it is obvious that the Quran has shown a favor to the Jews and Christians by exonerating Prophet Aaron from the sin, but it is an irony that the Christian missionaries and the Orientalists still insist that the Quran is guilty of anachronism and that the calf was made a deity of worship by a holy prophet of theirs. In their blind obduracy they forget that even according to the Bible this was a great sin. Exodus 32:21. A little further on in the same chapter the Bible again contradicts itself. It says that Prophet Moses ordered the Levites to kill all their kinsfolk, their friends and their fellow countrymen who had been guilty of the sin of calf worship. Accordingly, about 3,000 men fell that day. Exodus 32:27-29. Now the question arises, why was Prophet Aaron not killed, if he was the inventor of the calf worship? Why didn't the Levites ask Prophet Moses to kill his brother, Prophet Aaron, who was the real sinner, just as they were asked to kill theirs? The Bible also says that after this Moses went back to the Eternal and prayed him to forgive their sins or blot him out of his list of the living, and the Eternal answered, Whosoever has sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book. Exodus 32:31-33. But we learn from the Bible that the name of Prophet Aaron was not blotted out, but, on the other hand, he and his sons and his family were given the charge of the sanctuary and the office of priesthood. Numbers 18:17. Thus it is quite evident from the internal testimony of the Bible itself, that it contradicts itself and supports the Quran in its exoneration of Prophet Aaron.
قال يا هارون ما منعك إذ رأيتهم ضلوا.
After rebuking his people, Moses turned to Aaron, peace be upon him, and said, Aaron, what prevented you when you saw them going astray?
ألا تتبعني أفعصيت أمري.
From following my way, have you disobeyed my command?
70. The command refers to the instructions which Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, gave to his brother Prophet Aaron, peace be upon him, when he made him his deputy in his absence when he went up to Mount Tor. After me take my place and do the right and follow not the way of the mischief makers. Surah Al-Araf, Ayat 142.
قال يا ابن أم لا تأخذ بلحيتي ولا برأسي إني خشيت أن تقول فرقت بين بني إسرائيل ولم ترقب قولي.
Aaron, peace be upon him, answered, Son of my mother, do not seize me with my beard, nor by the hair of my head. I feared that on returning you might say, You sowed discord among the children of Israel, and did not pay heed to my words.
71. See, Surah Al-Araf, Ayat 150. 72. It can also be interpreted like this: you did not wait for orders from me. In order to understand fully the statement of Prophet Aaron, peace be upon him, one should read this verse along with verse 150 of Surah Al-Araf, where he says, "Son of my mother, these people overpowered me and were going to kill me. So, let not the enemies gloat over me. Do not count me among the people who have done wrong." Now if both these verses are read together, one can easily see the true picture of the event. Prophet Aaron, peace be upon him, did his utmost to stop the people from committing the sin of calf worship, but they revolted against him and might even have killed him. Fearing a clash between them, therefore, he held his peace lest Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, on his return, might blame him for letting the situation worsen and failing to control it effectively in his absence. The last clause of Surah Al-Araf, Ayat 150, also gives the hint that there existed among the people a good number of the enemies of the two brothers.
قال فما خطبك يا سامري.
Moses, peace be upon him, said, "What then is your case, O Samiri?"
قال بصرت بما لم يبصروا به فقبضت قبضة من أثر الرسول فنبذتها وكذلك سولت لي نفسي.
He answered, "I saw what the people did not see. So I took a handful of dust from the trail of the messenger, and I flung it into the fire. Thus did my mind prompt me."
M73. Here it has been a good deal of divergence of opinion in regard to the interpretation of this verse. According to the majority of the early commentators and their followers, it means, the Samiri saw the messenger, Angel Gabriel, when he was passing and took a handful of dust from his footprints. Then he sprinkled this upon the idol of the golden calf. This created life in it and it began to low like a living calf. The Quran, in fact, does not say that this actually happened but merely cites the reply given by the Samiri to Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, when the latter took him to task for the great sin he had committed. There are others who interpret the words of the Samiri like this: I saw a weakness in the messenger, Prophet Moses, or in his creed, which others did not see. Therefore I followed in his footsteps to a certain limit but afterwards I left his way. This interpretation was most probably put forward first of all by Abu Muslim Isfahani. Then Imam Razi not only cited it in his own commentary but also approved of it. And now it is being followed by some modernistic commentators, who try to prove their own favorite theories by giving far-fetched interpretations to the obvious meaning of the words of the Quran. Such people forget that the Quran has not been sent down in the terminology of enigmas, riddles and puzzles but in clear, plain and intelligible Arabic. Therefore the Quran would have never employed the words it has used in the text to convey the meaning given by them because their usage cannot support that far-fetched interpretation. What such interpreters really mean to imply is that Allah has failed to express himself clearly and plainly. Therefore, they wish to come to his rescue by their interpretations in order to save him. Not the enemies gloat over me. Do not count me among the people who have done wrong. Now if both these verses are read together, 1. From the ridicule of the learned people, if we study the verse in the context in which it occurs, we shall be able to understand easily that the Samiri was a mischief monger who had contrived his deceitful scheme after a good deal of consideration. As he appears to have been a good craftsman, he caused the golden calf he had made to produce a lowing sound, and successfully deluded the ignorant and simple people. He did not rest content with this but impudently invented the story that he had seen what the common people could not see and that he had taken a handful of the dust from the footprints of the messenger and sprinkled it on the calf which made it low like a living calf. It is possible that by the messenger, he meant Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, himself and might have cunningly tried to flatter him, saying that the dust of his footprints was miraculous. By saying so, he was playing the most subtle trick. He wanted to offer an intellectual bait to Moses, peace be upon him, so that he might feel elated about the miraculous effect of the dust trodden by his feet and utilize his services for propagating his own miraculous acts. Anyhow, the fact is that the Quran has presented the whole thing as a trick of the Samiri and has not given the account as if it were a real event by itself. The subsequent reaction of Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, to the statement of the Samiri clearly shows that he considered it as a deceitful story, and so laid the curse on him.
قال فاذهب فإن لك في الحياة أن تقول لا مساس وإن لك موعدا لن تخلفه وانظر إلى إلهك الذي ظلت عليه عاكفا لنحرقنه ثم لننسفنه في اليم نسفا.
Moses, peace be upon him, said, Begone then, all your life you shall cry, untouchable. There awaits a term for your reckoning that you cannot fail to keep. Now look at your God that you devotedly adored. We shall burn it and scatter its remains in the sea.
74. The words show that he was not only made an outcast for life but was made to inform the people himself that he was an outcast, as given in Leviticus. And the leper in whom the plague is, his clothes shall be rent, and his head bare, and he shall put a covering upon his upper lip, and shall cry, Unclean, unclean. All the days wherein the plague shall be in him he shall be defiled, he is unclean, he shall dwell alone, without the camp shall his habitation be. 1345-46. We conclude from this that either he was inflicted with leprosy as a scourge by Allah or the punishment inflicted on him was that being a moral leper, he should be made an outcast and should himself proclaim to be an unclean and impure person, saying, Touch me not.
إنما إلهكم الله الذي لا إله إلا هو وسع كل شيء علما.
Your God is none else than Allah, beside whom there is no God. His knowledge embraces everything.
كذلك نقص عليك من أنباء ما قد سبق وقد آتيناك من لدنا ذكرا.
O Muhammad, peace be upon him, thus do we recount to you the events of the past, and we have bestowed upon you from ourselves an admonition.
75. Now that the story of Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, comes to an end, the same theme, that was interrupted by this story, has been resumed. 76. That is, the Quran about which it was said at the beginning of the surah that it had not been sent down to put the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, in distress, and that it was an admonition for the God-fearing.
من أعرض عنه فإنه يحمل يوم القيامة وزرا.
He who turns away from it will surely bear a heavy burden on the day of resurrection.
خالدين فيه وساء لهم يوم القيامة حملا.
And will abide under this burden forever. Grievous shall be the burden on the day of resurrection.
77. Here the people have been warned that whoso will turn away from the Quran and will reject its guidance, he shall do harm to himself only and not to Allah and His Messenger, and that the one who rejects His message shall inevitably be punished in the hereafter. And this warning holds good for every people, every country and every age. This is because there are only two alternatives for an individual or a community, whom the message of the Quran reaches. They can either accept it or reject it. There is no third way.
يوم ينفخ في الصور ونحشر المجرمين يومئذ زرقا.
The day when the trumpet shall be sounded, and we shall muster the sinners, their eyes turned blue with terror.
78. As regards to the nature of the blowing of the trumpet on the day of resurrection, it may be likened to the blowing of the bugle in the army to muster or disperse the soldiers. It is obvious that these words and terms have been used because these are known to the people. Therefore it will be wrong to consider the trumpet to be exactly like the bugles and trumpets of this world. 79. According to some commentators, it means this: the bodies of the criminals will turn white as if no drop of blood had been left in them.